Alright everybody, so today I'm going to be making a video pitting Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Of course, I'll be making other videos with Donald Trump versus the various other Democratic viable candidates, which include Bernie Sanders, the frontrunner, and Michael Bloomberg, which will probably be released tomorrow. So without further ado, let's get the predictions started. We'll give Joe Biden his safe states. Of course, Joe Biden's going to win all of the West Coast, Illinois, Hawaii, and of course, practically all of New England. Now, these are all states that the Democrats have carried since 1992, and that Joe Biden will carry by a safe margin, 15 percentage points or higher, no matter what happens. And we'll move on to Donald Trump's safe states again. Although what's different about this is the Republican safe states have changed. In fact, it's only until 2016 that Missouri, Indiana, and Montana were found to be Republican safe states, at least on the presidential election scale. So this puts Donald Trump at 120. Oh boy. This puts Donald Trump at 134 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 182. These are states, again, that Trump will win by 15 points or more. Alright, we're going to go into the likely Democratic states. These are states Joe Biden will carry by between 7 and 15 points. My first prediction is that... why is Colorado? Alright. This puts Donald Trump at 125 and 128. So we're going to put New Mexico as likely Democratic. Now, if we look at the 2016 presidential election results, we can see that Donald Trump lost the state of New Mexico by 8 points. Gary Johnson won nearly 9.5 points in the state. However, I don't really think it made a whole lot of a difference. I still think Trump will lose by just under 15 points in the state of New Mexico. I think it is a blue state, and I think it is a blue state to stay. Eventually, it'll be solid blue, but I don't think this time around, especially depending on what Trump's strategy is against Joe Biden. Another state I see is going likely is Virginia. Now, it's interesting because in polling, a lot of Democratic opponents have been either tying or being beat by Trump in Virginia, except Joe Biden, who still leads Trump by around 6 to 7 points, which goes to show you the Virginia Democrats really favor the establishment, especially the ones in Northern Virginia. We could look again at the 2016 presidential election. Trump lost the state by 5 points. However, if he were to win the state, he would have to increase his margins heavily in places like Loudoun County, Prince William County. Of course, these counties are quote-unquote very diverse, which means they're going to be more and more Democratic as they get more and more diverse. Of course, he's going to have to increase his margins here in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Chesterfield, and the Richmond metropolitan area, as well as Hampton Roads. Of course, he could definitely increase margins here in James City County and other counties that previously were more Republican. But anyway, he's going to lose it by a likely margin with Joe Biden, I predict. Now we're going to move on to likely Trump states. I think Texas is still going to be likely Trump. If we go back to 2016, Donald Trump won the state of Texas by 9 points against Hillary Clinton. I think without Gary Johnson in the race, he'll probably win it by around 11 points, even with Joe Biden. But since Joe Biden is a fairly weak candidate, I see Donald Trump winning the state by 11 points. So we're going to put that as likely, and as well, we're going to put Iowa and Ohio as likely as well. These are all states that Trump won by 10 and 8 points, respectively. Now we're going to move on to the lean Democratic states, states that lean Democrat with Biden as the nominee. Colorado. Biden is a fairly weak candidate, but Colorado is increasingly becoming more left-wing. And of course, since the 2008 election, it has gone from a red state to essentially a blue state. We can look at the 2016 election results. Trump lost the state by 5 points, just like he lost Virginia. Of course, Gary Johnson got a higher percentage of the vote than he did in Virginia. If Trump wants to win the state of Colorado, he really needs to focus on places like Pueblo County. He needs to increase his margins in El Paso County, and he needs to hammer home his message in Jefferson County, in and around Fort Collins, and the Denver suburbs. Of course, he's never going to win Denver. Don't even bother going to Boulder County, but he needs to hammer home his message in these counties in order to win. So I'm going to put that, however, as leans Joe Biden for the time being, of course, as of the making of this video. So that's going to be it for the lean Democratic states. We're going to move to the lean Republican states. I think Arizona is going to lean Republican for Trump. I think he'll win it by around 5 points. He won it in 2016 by 4 points. Of course, Maricopa County, where Phoenix is the huge population center. This county and Yuma, I would focus on a lot. I wouldn't focus up in northern Arizona so much, and maybe do a rally or two in Tucson to maybe chip away at the Democratic majority in that county. But for now, we're going to put it as leans Trump just because Joe Biden is not really a strong candidate. And even when he was stronger, polls always had Trump on average by around a point ahead. Another lean state is going to be Georgia. We look back at 2016. Georgia, Trump won by 5 points, but it's all about in the suburbs here. Honestly, I think Trump should do a few campaign stops in Georgia for good measure, especially in Atlanta and the Atlanta metro. Do some campaigning in these areas. Because Georgia is trending more Democratic, sadly, and that's due solely on demographics and the increasing urbanization of the Atlanta metro area. Of course, these rural areas are solid Trump country and will probably remain solid Trump country. But for now, Georgia remains a leans red state, of course. North Carolina and Florida are other states I also predict will go to Trump by a lean margin. As you can see, Trump is so close to winning the presidency here. I don't see Biden winning either of these states, even though he polls well in North Carolina. He's ahead consistently, but it's within the margin of error, and I think as the election goes on and as Trump continues to hammer Joe Biden, and the fact that Joe Biden doesn't really have a coherent brain anymore, he'll probably lose these crucial swing states that'll ultimately cost him the election, I believe. Nebraska, oh boy. No. Nebraska's 2nd congressional district will go to Trump by a lean margin. It did in 2012. In 2016, I predict it will again. That's going to be it for the lean Democratic states. We're going to move on to the tilt Democratic states. Sorry, that was it for the lean Republican states. We're going to move on to the tilt Democratic states. Minnesota is going to tilt Democrat. I think it's going to be close. If Trump has a chance of winning Minnesota, it would be this time around. However, I think the Democratic majority there is still powerful, and the Democratic Party of Minnesota is still very strong. I think ultimately Trump will do better than he did in 2016, but I don't think he'll win. Again, we could go back to the map here. Trump only lost Minnesota by around less than 2 points, really, but I still think he only got 44% of the vote overall. He didn't even get close to 50, and neither did Hillary. But I don't see Minnesota going red just yet. So we're going to put Minnesota as tilts Democrat. Another state that's going to tilt Democrat is Maine. We're going to put Maine's 1st district as likely Joe Biden, and we're going to put Maine's 2nd congressional district as safe for President Donald Trump. That now puts Donald Trump at 260 and Biden at 222 electoral votes. Now, for the tilt Republican states, I think Nevada this time around, Nevada is going to tilt for Donald Trump, putting him at 266 electoral votes. Nevada has been trending red in the presidential cycle from going to Obama by a safe margin in 2008 to Trump only losing the state by 2 points. I think it makes sense if Trump hammers home Nevada, and if Joe Biden is his opponent, I think it's very plausible to see him winning the state as a whole and maybe putting it back on a Republican path, at least for the time being. So I think he's going to win Nevada. Another state Trump is going to do strong in, I predict, is the state of Pennsylvania, which, again, like in 2016, will give him the White House. Now, if I was Donald Trump, we could go back to 2016. The areas you campaign in are eastern Pennsylvania, right around here. You could do a rally in Pittsburgh, perhaps, or up here in Erie, but this is the area you need to hammer home. Counties that flipped from Obama to Trump were Northampton County, Luzerne County, and Erie County. These are 3 counties that in 2012 went blue and in 2016 went red and ultimately flipped the state for Donald Trump. Of course, in Luzerne County, this was the county with the most dramatic swing. He won it by a safe margin. In fact, the county went more Republican than most safe Republican states did, which is absolutely crazy to think about, that it voted for Obama back in 2012. Other counties, Monroe, where Scranton is located, he almost won these. Lehigh County. Again, Lehigh County is one of the more diverse counties of Pennsylvania. I don't think he can win it, although he does have a shot of doing so. Bucks County, I do think Trump will win, and if I did a county-to-county breakdown, it would probably reflect that. Let me know if you guys want to see county-to-county breakdowns in these key swing states. But anyway, Trump, I think, will win the state of Pennsylvania despite it being where Biden was born. I think Biden is just such a weak candidate that Trump will ultimately carry the state, and that puts him over the finish line. But we're not done. I think Michigan will go by a tilt margin, just like it did last time, and I think Wisconsin will go by a tilt margin. Now, I think it is still going to be a nail-biter this time around, but ultimately, I think these states are going to go for Donald Trump. Now, this looks very similar to the prediction I put out a few days ago, probably about a week or two ago now. And this is what I predict will happen if Joe Biden wins the Democratic presidential nomination. And of course, we're going to put New Hampshire into Donald Trump's column for the tilt Republicans, which puts Donald Trump at 316 and 222 electoral votes for the 2020 Democratic election. Again, the states I think he's going to pick up: Nevada, and he's going to pick up New Hampshire. Do I think he's going to pick up Minnesota? No, of course. But of course, I'm willing to hear arguments on that, considering Minnesota was actually closer than Nevada, but Minnesota has more of a reputation of being a blue state. But anyway, this is the way I see it unfolding. If Biden is the candidate, if somehow Biden slips in states like Colorado and Virginia, I will be updating. But of course, I'm going to be updating these predictions every few months or so with the matchups as the polling data shows, but this is just based off of what I think will ultimately happen in November 2020. These aren't exactly based off of the poll numbers. If they were based off these strict poll numbers, the entire Rust Belt would go to Joe Biden and he would probably win the presidency, but that's not how I see it unfolding if the election was actually held, because polling is not always accurate. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more election prediction videos and political commentary. Make sure to share this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.